So I'll just divulge this right now. I reached out to the University of Iowa because this was brought to my attention. Colorado State offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Jon Budmayr. Okay, I don't know if you know that name, Mark, but he was a QB's coach at Wisconsin prior to moving to Colorado State. Got hired last year under Steve Adazio as the OC and quarterbacks coach at Colorado State. He's on Iowa's staff. And let me tell you something else. We're gonna do some earth-shattering stuff for all you. Got 28 Hawkeye fans on here. That's why I'm going to talk about it on my channel, because hopefully get more people. This is crazy to me. Now, maybe I'm just insane, and you can tell me I'm crazy, Mark. He is on staff as a volunteer. He's an unpaid volunteer. And this has not been reported on by anybody. But now call me crazy if you want, but I requested, I filed for an open records request earlier in the week and was told that Jon Budmayr, who was the OC and quarterbacks coach last year at Colorado State, he is a unpaid volunteer for Iowa. Okay. Now listen here. Now let me just, for anybody who doesn't know who Jon Budmayr is. Okay. Jon Budmayr is the son-in-law to a Mr. Andy Hartlieb. Do you remember who Andy Hartlieb is? Wisconsin guy. His brothers, Jim and Chuck, were Iowa guys. So there's the connection to Iowa. But he's Andy Hartlieb's nephew. Okay? Did I say that right? His son-in-law. Excuse me. Son-in-law. That's why I'm reporting without anything in front of me, Mark. His son-in-law. Okay? He was at Wisconsin on staff. He played at Wisconsin, to my understanding. Jon Budmayr played at Wisconsin. He then went last year, was the OC and quarterbacks coach at Colorado State. He was hired March 1st. He was hired March 1st as a volunteer at the University of Iowa. Just explain it to me, Mark. I don't know whether to be happy about it. I don't know how to feel about it. I really don't know how to feel about it.
So somebody who had a pretty prominent position on Mountain West Conference coaching staff and
yes,
probably earned somewhere between $80,000 and $150,000. Was that a coordinator position? It was not a coordinator position, right?
No, it was.
It was.
According to USA Today, according to what I saw from USA Today, and I can't confirm this because I know USA Today is premium content, but you know, when you Google search something, it'll pop up results. What I saw, the value was he was on staff last year at Colorado State as an OC for $325,000 a year.
Okay, I was going position coach level. Okay, $325,000 a year, and now he's a volunteer. Yeah, that's
unpaid. Mark, I can read you the exact language. Let me pull up because this is public information. This was what the University of Iowa emailed me this week. And again, I've been just under the weather, and I haven't really been able to talk about it. And I'm looking at the volunteer application, okay, from Jon Budmayr right now. So he was hired March 1st. His responsibilities or his volunteer services description are as follows: self-scout, opponent scout, approaching game rosters, injury status, depth chart projections, and other analytics as needed by head coach and assistant coaches. Now, as you know, Steve Adazio was fired, so that it would make sense that he would not have a job there. But he was there 1 year, and I looked at, you look up like Colorado State's passing numbers. They actually weren't that bad. Now, Iowa played them last year. You'll recall that. Todd Centeio, was it Todd Centeio? Centeio was the guy's name. Quarterback for Colorado State was actually decent, and he wasn't great against Iowa. He ran the ball well, but I looked up their passing. They were actually middle of the pack, if I recall, like 70s in the country. Middle of the pack, much better than Iowa. Middle of the pack passing the football. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, if this guy got hired as an OC and quarterbacks coach at Colorado State, how is he not getting a job somewhere?
So let's take it on face value. His addition is a positive. If that's all we're taking it as, is that we have a coach coming in as an offensive coordinator who produced a top 75 offense at Colorado State, or a top 75 passing game, and he's being added to better talent, and we know what issues the Iowa passing game has had. Okay. Who knows what his financial status is, though, but he's been earning good money for the last few years at least. And now he's technically on the surface. And I'm not in, as I state this, I'm not stating this in a way that there's anything nefarious going on. That's not what I'm leading at. But we don't know what other businesses and things people are involved in. Okay. But as in this role, he's not earning anything. The next thing I go to is that he is being led in a way that possibly he's setting himself up for another position within the organization. Maybe Kirk.
What's the position, though, Mark? What's the position? I mean, I agree. You know, I thought about what you said, but I just can't find myself to figure out what the position is. He was a quarterbacks coach and an OC. They just promoted Brian Ferentz to quarterbacks coach. So what's the position?
You would think that the only position that he would take with any kind of future would be the offensive coordinator position.
Or at the minimum, quarterbacks coach.
Yes.
What Ken O'Keefe was. I don't understand it. I don't get it at all. And yes, in answer to Ed's question, does he get expenses? That is one thing that was added in. He gets expenses covered. So that's his compensation, Mark, is his expenses are covered.
Well, put this together, what Brian had to say about the learning curve, about what he doesn't know. And this could be a way to supplement
Agreed.
the lack of knowledge.
Agreed.
And make Brian look a little bit better without him formally having help.
No, I agree. Listen, when I first heard it, I'm thinking, hey, that's good news. We got somebody who has an offensive mind, because I know like certain people think I'm just hating on Iowa's offense. Like it's hard for me to look up and down the roster and see people who have pure offensive minds. Like Ken O'Keefe, at least you could argue he had an offensive mind, Mark, right? I mean, that was what he did. Brian Ferentz is an O-line guy. Kirk Ferentz is an O-line guy.
What's this guy's name again?
Jon Budmayr. All right. JONBUDM, was it MYER? But yeah, no, so the thing about it is you would have to think that, yeah, he's here to help the quarterback position. He's here to help Brian Ferentz. But I guess my thing is, Mark, that's good news if you're a fan, I guess. But it's also confusing because why does he want to be here? What is he getting from being here? Isn't that the more intriguing question with all this, Mark?
Yes. And that's where I started, but then I quickly went to, we can, meaning Kirk and the Iowa staff, we can supplement and kind of support Brian Ferentz and his lack of knowledge in the position without it being obvious to many. Few were going to do the digging that you and others are, and most of the fan base doesn't read into things to that degree.
Oh, I'm fascinated by it. I love doing the digging on this kind of thing.
Therefore, there's support given to Brian Ferentz, and it's going to help him do his job better.
But again, what's in it for Jon?
Yeah, I can't.
We just don't have. I don't have. You know, I'd love to. And listen, I'm not taking a shot at Jon. Maybe I just don't know. I'd love to be able to talk with him. I'm sure that won't happen. I'm sure they won't. The media probably won't get to talk to a guy who's not even technically getting paid. But I mean, you can't pay a guy under the table, Mark. Right?
No, I don't. Well, I wouldn't put it past anyone that I don't know, the things that go on out there that I don't know of. But we have no reason to believe that Kirk would do anything like
absolutely
that.
not. No, and I'm not implying that at all. But that's what makes it confusing.
Yeah,
because I have no reason to think that he's getting paid. You know, if the university says he's not getting paid, I trust that that he's not getting paid. And you're not. How are you going to hide that, Mark? Like, he's there. That's going to be a question that people ask. He's on the UI staff directory. You go to the UI staff directory, you're going to find him. And like I said, you just file a records request and you get the information. So I don't know. I see this comment from Vernon. Maybe Kirk's going to retire after this year. Brian Ferentz moves to head coach. New guy takes his place. The plot thickens. There's lots of ways you can twist this, Mark. It's odd. I don't know. You know, I guess my other thing is, like, I'm not even going to speculate, I guess. I mean, fans can speculate all they want. But if he was the OC at Colorado State, that's a pretty significantly big program, right? That's not, listen, that is not Truman State. All right. It's not Alcorn State. That's a pretty significant program in the Mountain West.
He's at a top 90 program in the country, and he's making $325,000.
According to what I saw. So, I don't know. Very, very intriguing. You know, maybe it's actually a good thing, because I would have to, again, he's a former quarterback, Mark. He's coached quarterback, so maybe there's some hope there. I'm not going to say it just changes my opinion completely of the move to make Brian the quarterback's coach and the OC. It's not going to change my opinion completely, but it should give some fans, if fans are looking for something, some layer of hope to grab onto, it should give fans some glimmer of light. Fascinating. It's a fascinating thing.
You know, in a sense, it reminds me of a situation at Florida State and other places where there's a coordinator in place, but the head coach owns that side of the football. Therefore, the coordinator isn't necessarily taking on the type of authority and the type of responsibility that is typically demanded to that position.
Yeah. The only difference is, again, there's, in that situation, everybody's getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of title, everybody's getting paid. I just don't understand that. And Ed says, why don't they pay him? I don't know what the rules are on how many guys they can have on staff to pay. So I don't understand it, but
I don't know what those limitations are either. If there is a limitation, and we think that I was possibly met that limit, and that's the reason why, then we immediately, anybody that knows of what's going on in college football would immediately go to Alabama and count how many coaches they have on staff, because they seemingly can always hire more analysts.
Yeah, like, and I'm not, again, I want to, final thing I'll say on this, we can move on. I am not taking a shot at Iowa by any means. For, you know, I don't know the details of why this move is happening, why it's in place, but I guess my thinking on it is, you know, if you're Iowa, it'd be like me going to, no, obviously a much different situation, but as an illustration, me getting somebody, or you, Mark, you're much bigger than I am, you going to get somebody who's a really good video editor, and this video editor says he'll do all your videos for free. Would you have him do that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's free work. Of course.
It's free
He's
work.
Going to do it.
You can do it much better. Yeah. If some top-notch video editor
of
the caliber of Budmayr came and said, but I don't need anything and don't want anything, people would find that curious. Okay, why is this guy working for you and he doesn't want anything and he's going to do and these videos look 10 times better?
Well, you take it in a heartbeat, but you'd also be like, why are you here? Like, what's in it for you, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't understand, but we can move on. I'll try to provide more information if I can gather some more information on this story, because I do think it's intriguing. Now, maybe some people think we're just talking way too much, or we're reading way too much into it. I'm just intrigued by this type of thing, but it could be a positive for Iowa in the end. You know, the bottom line is they need somebody with an offensive mind. This guy seems to have an offensive mind, and he's obviously working with them for whatever reason. He's working with them. Maybe he can be a guy. And I don't know. I mean, is he the best option? I mean, he probably is. I don't know how you can get something like this and not get paid, but I mean, he's a decent option. Like a guy who was an OC and QB's coach. That's not a bad guy to even hire. I wouldn't be mad if they hired him to pay him.
Exactly.
Mark.
I can't even begin to figure out that end of the deal.
Yeah.
The other end of the deal, I think, is I don't want to discredit Brian Ferentz and his ability to hold down that position, but he has made it public that he needs
Yes.
help. He needs knowledge. He needs to grow in the position. They've given him somebody that can support him in that position. Why you just wouldn't hire this guy to fill the position by himself, I don't know.